Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Spiritual Spotlight series. Today, I'm joined by Kim Keane. She's a certified life coach, EFT practitioner, Reiki master, and sound healer. She is also the host of One of a Kind You podcast. She has addressed community organizations, women's groups, schools, and colleges such as Boys and Girls Club, Purdue University, Polka Dot Powerhouse, and Moms Who Dare. Kim, thank you so much for coming on the Spiritual Spotlight series. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I love that you're outside. So I just love that. So, Kim, can you maybe share your journey and what led you to become a certified life coach, an EFT practitioner, Reiki master, and sound healer?
Yes, and if you would throw it in there, now I'm a master instructor of IET, which
Oh,
is
so
integrated
hi.
energy. So I'll just keep
Yeah.
throwing the
Yeah, I
cert.
do that as well. I'm also a master IET instructor.
Oh, are you?
Yes, I am.
No one's ever heard of it. So I'm like, yay, someone else knows about
Yeah,
it.
integrative energy therapy, working with the
Yeah,
nine healing angels, get the issues out of the tissues. Yes, ma'am, I
yeah,
do know.
yes. Thank you. Finally, someone, whenever I tell people, they're like, what? You do
I know
what?
I will say that for my energy healing journey, like I didn't go the Reiki route, I went the IET route. So I love
Okay.
that you do IET. I think it's an amazing healing modality.
Yeah, so I went Reiki, and then a friend of mine who's also a healing arts practitioner, she was the one who introduced me to
Yeah,
IET
I love
when I went
that.
for a session with her. So I was like, angels, what? Yes, I need this, please.
Yes, yes, a gentle but powerful healing modality.
Yes. So really it was my own healing journey that led me to all of the certifications. So I left my
Sure.
teaching career after 6 short years from burnout, thinking that I was going to do that until I was in my 90s. And then when that didn't happen, that was really a hard pill for me to swallow,
Yeah.
and really was struggling with that loss of identity, even though I had the identity of mom and wife and dog mom and cat mom and all of the things.
Yeah.
But I really was having a hard time just embracing those and being okay with my teaching identity not being what I thought it was going to be.
Mm.
So I started having some unhealthy thoughts around all of that. And I apologize, there's an airplane flying over.
It's okay. Can't hear it. It's all good.
Okay. And so I decided that I needed to go talk to someone, and I tried traditional therapy. But 2.5 years into that, it was just this really big push to
Mm.
take medication after having all of these labels thrown at me of codependency and anxiety and childhood emotional neglect, and not really being given tangible tools to manage all of that. It was just, well, if you take this medication, then you'll have the stairs to climb your way out of the ditch. And was really guilted and gaslighted into why medication would be the super duper fixer of
Okay.
all things. And the gift was that she did suggest that I try meditation and yoga, and opening myself to meditation and yoga led to Reiki, and then crystals and sound healing and IET and all of those things over a progression of years. But using those modalities and life coaching, that was really where I finally got that aha moment
Yeah.
of being able to cope with the trauma of the past and being okay with where I was in the present.
I love that. I love that you were guided to, like crystal healing, energy healing, like all these different modalities. I think that's amazing. I am also a registered nurse, so I understand the medication component and then wanting to have like maybe a holistic healing approach, which is sound like that's kind of like the path that you took. And I think that's really cool. So let's ask you this. So, how did your personal experiences shape your approach to empowering women and helping them embrace who they are?
Well, I think it was that feeling of being pressured to do something that really
Mm,
didn't feel quite right,
yeah.
and being told like, well, it doesn't matter if it doesn't feel right for you right now because it's the thing that you need. And in that journey, I felt so alone because no one knew I was in therapy. No one knew I was struggling because, the metaphor of, oh, you look like you're gliding along on the surface, but, ducks really paddling along frantically under the surface. No
Yeah.
one could see how frantic I was under the surface of the water. I didn't want anyone to know. And it was just this very lonely and isolating journey. And then when I would finally feel a little vulnerable enough to share with a friend what I was experiencing, I felt like they looked at me like I had 10 heads and they couldn't really relate. And so the more I talked with other women and the more I went to seminars and things like that, there were so many other women who had a
Mm,
similar experience to me, and they also felt alone and isolated and lost. And I
yeah.
really just wanted to be able to change that for them.
Oh, that's wonderful. So, emotional freedom technique, so EFT is a significant part of your work. How does EFT help in managing stress and anxiety?
Yeah, so EFT is really great at breaking the loop. So when you're in that pattern of anxiety or um, fear or depression or stress or whatever that unserving feeling is in that moment,
Mhm.
we get to this cycle. And so it's like when you turn the light switch on, it engages the circuit and the electricity flows and the light comes on. And then when you stop the circuit, the light turns off. So really EFT is that way to turn the light switch off. It turns the light bulb off. It breaks that circuit of that anxiety or that fear or that stress. So it gives you a chance to be able to catch your breath, you know, calm the nervous system to be able to respond rather than react and really be able to look at the whole picture rather than that thing that triggered you in the moment.
Now, do you find that when you have women that are coming to you, like one of the things that I think you probably work on is limiting beliefs and
Mhm.
how fear is holding them out back. Let's talk about IET, false expectations appearing real. Do you
Yes.
find that there are certain loops that you have to some of your clients that are repeating?
Yes. So it's um the guilt, the anger and the guilt. So
Mhm.
they feel guilty and then it turns to anger and then it comes back to guilt. So it's just that constant, it's that infinity
Right.
pattern of anger, guilt, anger, guilt, anger. And I ran that same pattern myself very early in my journey. It was guilt for not loving being a stay-at-home mom and then angry at myself for not being able to hack it the way that I thought that I should be able to, and then back to being into that guilt because then, I was yelling at my kids and I was snapping at my husband and I was just miserable. Then I got angry again. And so that's really a common pattern that I see a lot of women running. And it doesn't have to be around, motherhood. It's around family
No.
dynamics.
Yeah.
It's around societal issues. It's around work. There are so many things, but that's one of the most common
Yeah.
patterns that I
I
see with women: guilt to anger and then back again.
I want to say that you bring up a really good point. Like, it doesn't matter if you're just a mom. Like, I know that I have guilt because I have a professional career running a doctor's office. And then I have my healing career, and it's hard to do that full time because I'm running a doctor's office. And I constantly go back and forth between guilt, anger. So I really love that you work with that because it's such a I'm a mom. I have a partner. Like we have, similar to you, dog mom, cat mom. We have two
Yes.
cats, and it's this constant like, am I doing enough as being a parent? Am I doing enough being a partner? Am I doing enough in my professional career? Am I doing enough in my healing career, which is still my professional career? It's such a delicate balance. And I love that you work with people to kind of say, okay, like it's okay, like to empower women to really help them embrace who they are. That's something that you really focus on, empowering women and helping them to embrace who they are. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so and it goes back to that limiting belief, the mindset piece, because when we get stuck in these patterns, whether it's a pattern of codependency, it's a pattern of anxiety,
Yeah.
we really attach those things to who we are. So many people say, "Oh, I'm anxious. I'm so anxious. I'm so this, I'm so that." And so really it's like let's stop saying that we are those things because
Mm.
we're not those things. We run a pattern that leads us to have those feelings, those thoughts, those behaviors, but they're all just patterns, mostly that we've learned in childhood. So it's really important to take a step back and look at the mindset that we have
Mm.
now based on the experiences that we've had in the past and shift that mindset to align with really who we are now, letting go of all of those outdated beliefs.
Oh, that's perfect. Now, you already mentioned that you use crystals. So, can you tell us how to use crystals in your healing practices and what benefits they offer?
Yeah, so when I have a client that's coming to me for Reiki or EFT or really anything, I
Yeah.
usually pull some crystals ahead of time. Some that I just feel intuitively called
Yeah.
to use, and others that I know, okay, this client, she's having some stomach discomfort because of the anxiety. Okay, I have the crystals for that. So it's really like a concoction,
Yeah.
so to
Yeah.
speak, of crystals that I know that will be helpful to them. And so I usually, if there's someone laying down on the table for energy work, I place the crystals around them to help with the energy flow of the intention behind the session. But if I have someone who's working with me, let's say with tapping, and they're
Mm.
doing it remotely, I'll set up a crystal grid for them. And then I usually have that run for them for about usually 1 to 2 days.
So cool that you set up grids. I love that. Do you find that you utilize like certain crystals over others, or is it's whatever you intuitively want to select?
It's intuitively what I want to select,
Mhm.
but I have my favorite. So I love Chrysocolla, because that's a heart chakra
That's
stone.
a
And I
good
feel
one.
like we all need to be connected to our heart chakras more because we all live in our heads so much.
Yeah.
So that's one of my favorites. I have a little obsession. So I forget sometimes like, oh, I had a Chrysocolla. And then I go and I'm like, oh, look at that beautiful Chrysocolla. And I buy another. And then I'm like, oh, look at that one. And it's beautiful. And I buy another. So I've put myself on the no more Chrysocolla list. So now
I
I
love
know.
that. I love that.
But the other crystal that I really turn to a lot, which is a very common, which is rose quartz, because
Good
that's
one.
about self-love. And we all need a little more self-love. But I also love clear quartz as well. Because that's a clearing crystal and that
Yeah.
really helps with clearing energy. And then tourmaline is another good one because that's a grounding crystal, but that also helps with protecting our energy from negative influences and energy vampires.
I love black tourmaline. I also like brown tourmaline. I'm a certified crystal healer. So one of the things I love to do is I like to grid my doorways. So
Yes.
it's like, and I have it at my workplace. I have my doorway gridded with black tourmaline. I'm like, when you come in, make sure your energy is clear. Like, and you're doing that. And I love that you activate and you program crystal grids, which is only going to amplify the healing that you're providing to your clients. I think that's really amazing. So let me ask you this: you have a also have a podcast. So one of a kind, you. What inspired you to start it, and can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, so it's evolved. I've taken a short break from it
Okay.
just for the past few months, but the goal is to get back into it come September. Uh, but when I started, it was in the midst of the pandemic, so it was August 2020, and I was like, I need to be able to reach people at a
Yeah.
time where we're all stuck inside and we have limited contact with others. And everyone was, podcasting and listening to podcasts because it
Mhm.
was a great way to connect and get information while being stuck at home alone. So I started reading my journal entries from when I was in the thick of the struggle back in 2014 and
Yeah.
reflecting on what I had written at that time and what I know now after all of the healing work that I've done and the certifications and all of those things. And it evolved over time for me to continue doing that, but to also
Yeah.
bring on guests as well.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. I love that it's like, and honestly, what I love about podcasts so much is that they're international and really anyone that's, looking for a spiritual type of, experience or, I was going through struggles and, I love that you offer that for your listeners. I think that's important. Can you explain what the importance of releasing past traumas to move forward and live a more fulfilled life? Why is that so important?
Yeah, it's because a lot of times things are passed down to us that we don't even know are being passed down. And
Yeah.
so, which was the case with me. So I have uh, dysfunction and trauma on both sides. So like severe dysfunction and generational trauma from my mom's side of the family
Yeah.
and from my dad's side too. So it was like a double whammy.
Yeah.
And what I didn't know when I was struggling with my teaching career and ending up in unhealthy relationships was a lot of it was beliefs and ideas that had been handed down to me that really were not healthy and with codependency and
Yeah.
enmeshment and I adopted those as my own and I took those with me and it wasn't until was in therapy and she was throwing all these labels at me. I was like, codependency, I don't even know what that is, but let me Google it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then she was like, anxiety. Nope. Didn't think I was anxious. Childhood emotional neglect. I was like, okay, makes sense. So it was like all of these things that I had been carrying with me for my whole life. And they really weren't helping me in any way. And I got to the point where I was like, I cannot allow this to continue because I don't want my daughters to continue with these
Yeah.
patterns. So I have to just stop it right here and right now. And so I hope I'm answering your
You
question. I feel
are,
like I'm
you are. No, I love
perfect.
it. I think this is
Yes.
perfect.
So that was really like, that's it. It's like letting go of all that stuff so you don't pass it on to people who don't necessarily want it, like your children or your partners.
Yeah.
Because looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've traumatized my poor husband, and his his upbringing was vastly different than my childhood. So I always jokingly say, like, if there's ever a house that had like the cute picket white fence around the front yard, it would be his, his
Wow.
upbringing. So vastly different experiences. And so now he's kind of like eyes wide open, like, whoa, I didn't even know like things like that happened or existed or whatever. So I inadvertently started passing things on to him too that he didn't want. So none of us wanted
Yeah.
it. So it was time to just let it go and redefine how I wanted things to be moving forward.
Oh, I love that. And it is interesting, like when people come from trauma and you have people who don't come from trauma, that it's like, it's almost like they have no idea how to help you in a situation. Like, and
Yes.
it's like rose-colored glasses almost. And you're like, well, don't you understand? They're like, no. Like, I will say that I commend you for like you and your husband for going through that journey. And also it sounds like boundaries are also super important for you also, and how to really establish that so that way you break these generational issues and that you don't move that forward with your own daughters. I think that's so, so important that you're like, nope, it's the buck stops with me. And
Yes.
how has that been with, because I would wonder if like with your family, your mom and has anyone like kind of bucked back at you like, well, this is how we always did things. And why are you choosing to change that? Has that ever like come back at you at all?
I've managed to do it subtly, so
Oh,
I don't even
nice.
think that there's this huge awareness of what I've done. But we do get a little pushback sometimes. So
Yeah.
when my girls were little, every weekend we would do dinner with my dad and my stepmom, and then it would
Mm,
become this huge thing. And then the uncles would come and their wives and then their kids. And before we knew it, we had a group of like 15 people at a restaurant, which is not an easy feat to sit all of these people on a
yeah.
Friday or Saturday night. And so if a lot of times we didn't want to go, but it was too hard. I didn't know how to say no, not this time. And
Right.
so like just that's such a small example, but I've gotten better at saying, no, we're going to stay in tonight, or oh no, we already have plans, or we'll catch you next time, things like that, because it can be a lot
It can
going out
be.
every weekend
I
with
mean,
such a
that's a big
people.
commitment every
Yes,
weekend with such a huge. I mean, you're somebody who's energetically sensitive. I mean, as a
yes,
Reiki master, as a master IET instructor, like and I know you do a lot of other things with sound healing and whatnot. Like that's a lot of energy. You have to put up shields and how to like exchange energy. And I commend you for setting up that I'm good. Like I'm gonna respect my family nuclear unit and I'm going to tap out on this event. It's so
yes,
important. Like I don't think people realize the power in saying no thank you.
yes.
Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely, because they're worried about what other people are going to think of them if
Yes.
they do say no, thank you.
Yes. It's so,
And
so true. Go
so
ahead.
they can suffer through anyway.
Yeah, it's like it's almost like, and I will say that I'm somebody who also like has struggled with boundaries and maybe being like overly accommodating for others in fear of, not wanting to upset them. And then ultimately, I think people are okay with you saying no. And you also don't have to have a reason for it. It's like, yeah, I'm good. No, thank you. I had a friend once who sent me a message and she's like, you're really good at saying no. I'm like, well, what benefit is it going to do if I'm in a mood and you're in a mood and we're not going to have a great experience? Like, no, thank you. I even do that with my clients too.
Yes.
If I'm not, well, obviously I do that. So I have a problem. So I'm going to ask you this question. How do you help women create better boundaries and take back their time?
Yeah, so part of it is setting standards instead of having expectations. So that was a big, big thing. It was, I had expectations of others and they had them in return. And
Yeah.
so expectations are very subjective. They're very hard to define. And usually I had expectations that I thought everybody knew what they were, but they really didn't. And so there was a lot of assumptions going on both parts,
Yeah.
both sides of the table, so to speak. And so once I set standards, that was really a huge game changer because they're more clearly, you can communicate them more clearly than you can
Mm,
an expectation. So just an example of standards versus expectations is, expectations for what does your kid's bedroom look like versus what is the standard of a clean room. So, because your expectation of a parent as clean is different from what your kid's expectation is of clean. So in their mind, it's okay that they have dirty clothes on the floor because they're
Yeah.
dirty. And so, but us as a parent, we're like, dirty clothes on the floor is unacceptable. They're like, yeah, but
Yeah.
they're all in one pile. It's in one corner. So that's clean. They're not thrown all over.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that's not clean. Put them in your hamper. Your hamper is in the closet. And so it's really setting standards of, okay, what does a clean room look like? That means bed is made, night table is dusted, books are on the bookshelf, clothes are in the hamper, whatever the case is,
Yeah.
versus assuming that our expectations of a clean room are the same expectations of a clean room.
That is such an excellent point. Like, because I might assume that that's so true, because I can tell you my son does not have the same standard of what a clean room is. I'm like,
Right.
do you see this layer of dust on your bookshelf, sir? No, I don't care. Like, he
Right.
doesn't like the clothes on the desk, don't care. Like, no,
Right.
oh, I love that. That is such a, and you can imply that to so many different things. Like, even, in your friendships and in you're at where you go to work. Oh my goodness, I love that. That's so cool. Can you maybe share a success story of a client who has transformed their life through your coaching and healing methods?
Sure. So I had a client and she was really struggling with people pleasing,
Mm,
especially around the interactions with the in-laws. So she felt like she never measured up because she always felt like the in-laws were judging her,
yeah,
and no matter what she did, it was never good enough. And then that led to frustration with her husband because
yeah,
she felt like he never defended her. And it was just because they all had different expectations of how things should be. So she even said, I'm not the best housekeeper, and I'm okay with that. I know where everything is. It's not unsafe for my child. It doesn't bother us.
yeah,
We're fine with it like this. But in-laws were like, you're lazy, your house is a mess, this is disgusting, you shouldn't be living like this. And so it was really going back to having her setting standards for herself
mm,
and her home and communicating to her in-laws that these were her standards. It was
yeah,
okay if they didn't align with theirs
right,
because they had their space, she had theirs, and it was something that she had agreed upon with her husband. They were both on the same page with parenting, things like that. So it was just really teaching her how to advocate for
yeah,
herself, not just with the in-laws, but with the husband too. So I'm more about using strategies that are
mhm,
aligned with where they are in that moment. So she felt like there was a communication rift between her husband and her because he worked night shift and she was home during the day. And so he would sleep during the day and she would try to take care of things. And he would say, oh, I'll take care of this. And then he wouldn't do it.
oh,
So they created a Google Doc and a Google Calendar that they both had access to. They could both make changes to. They had a master list of, this is what needs to be done around the house. This is what needs to be done with baby. This is what needs to be done with, taking care of cars and other
yeah,
adult responsibilities. And they could communicate that way, leave each other comments, notes, make changes. So it was a real life living document. And so it took away some of that tension because she
yeah.
felt like he was being defensive towards her and like what he wasn't doing was enough. But then she also felt the same way. So it really just minimized the tension amongst them, but also it helped her feel empowered to speak up and say to her in-laws, like, no, thank you. I don't like the way that you're treating me.
I think that's wonderful. And the fact that you also, it's like they have a tangible thing that they can actually go and do. We're going to open up this document. We're going to have shared responsibilities, take some of the stress off of me, take some of the stress off of you, which probably improved her as a being and her relationship. And I think that that's wonderful. I love that.
Yeah.
Before I actually have two more questions. Can you explain the benefits of sound healing and how it complements your other healing modalities?
Yeah, so just like with crystals, sound vibrates at a frequency. And so a lot of times when we are stuck in old energy from past traumas or even current traumas,
Hmm.
that energy is stored in our body because everything is made up of energy. So the sound healing is a beautiful modality because it helps to rebalance that stuck
Yes.
negative energy to shift it into the positive energy. So it really just keeps the energy flowing because the crystal sound bowls are aligned to each chakra that you have. And so that helps with chakra alignment. And then there are other instruments as well that also, there are other instruments too that
Mhm.
also align to chakras. So like a Native American drum aligns with the root chakra. So really just incorporating a variety of instruments really just helps with keeping our energy fluid and balanced and like cleaned out, so to speak.
I think it's wonderful. I think a lot of people do not understand the benefits of sound healing and how vital it truly is. Like
Yes.
it's I love that you complement your sound healing in with your other healing modalities. It's just a extra layer of healing, that, it's going to vibrate it out of the cells and infuse in that healing. I think it's so wonderful. So
Yeah, it's
wonderful.
just like a little bit of an amplifier. So
Yeah. Like clear
just
quartz.
yeah, yeah. So just getting as much, I feel like there's never too much. You cannot have
Yeah.
enough good.
So,
So
so true.
it just helps to prolong the benefits of the energy work.
Oh, that's such a good point. So before I ask you last question, if anyone is interested in learning more about you and, getting one of your wonderful healings or your podcast or anything, what's the best place for them to go to?
They can go straight to my website, which is kimkeane.com.
Perfect. So lastly, what piece of advice would you give our listeners who are feeling overwhelmed and are looking to start their journey towards healing and self-empowerment?
So I think the first thing really is just stopping to assess the one thing that you feel is the most pressing thing in this moment.
Yeah.
Just developing that awareness, because when we try to focus on all the things at one time, it feels overwhelming and we don't know which way to go, which way is up, which way is down. So if you can pick the thing that you feel is the most important to you in that moment, it might be helpful even to make a list of all the things that you have that are weighing on you in this moment. And maybe you want to go like dive right in and do the thing that feels the most pressing, or maybe you feel like, okay, I need to build up to this. So let me work on the one that feels the least overwhelming, sort of get my feet, my bearings, and then I can move on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. Sort of like the snowball effect.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to reach out for support, because that's going to make the process feel a whole lot less challenging. I mean, it's probably not always going to be easy. There are going to be some ups and downs, but if you have someone to lean on and get guidance and support from, it can make the process feel much more doable.
Oh, I think that's amazing. Well, Kim, thank you so much for coming on the Special Spotlight series. It's truly been amazing to speak with you today. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.